Good morning, everybody. It's your old pal. Sitting out here trying to get in a good mood today. Because really, people overlook that, but I've been looking into that shit for years, and it's like, if you go out before you're in a good mood, you're gonna fuck shit up all day. You know? It's like, if you got a bunch of shit weighing on you and you hadn't really sort of settled it before you go out there into all that bullshit, and then start banging around with people and fucking man, it's just gonna be a mess. And man, I've been having it fucking hitting me hard lately. I'm talking hard, like just and it's times like this have come and gone throughout my life, ups and downs, and there comes these points where it's like a crossroads where all this shit will just start hitting the fan everywhere, and there'll be just and it depends on how you view your life. If you view your life as a big mistake, then you can say, oh, well, I fucked up again. I obviously couldn't make this work and things like that. But I don't see my life like that anymore. I haven't in years. In moments of fear, I get tempted into it. But for the most part, my life's been a pretty fucking crazy, awesome adventure. And especially since I've learned to appreciate that if doors are closing all around you, it just means fucking find an open one and run through it. And it also takes a lot of careful examination of these doors that are closing, and how many of them you're closing and how many of them are just closing on you, and they might be like, messages from the whatever, God, the creator or something, to that, hey, it's time to fucking move on, make some changes and rearrange things, or just fucking get the hell out. And where I've been here, well, this is what I wanted to get to this point really fast, is because this is the fear is something that everybody has a certain amount of to certain degrees, and if you say you don't, you're a fucking liar. I really don't care. I mean, there are some fearless people, but I think you're psychologically I don't think they're quite sane. But especially, psychopathic people are seem to be fearless sometimes, but you can bring the fear out of in them. I don't think anybody is totally fearless, but fear is a very dangerous state of mind. But it's an interesting one. Like, it can either motivate you, or it can motivate you to good things, or it can literally cause you to fucking create hell, living hell, and you just have to be careful when you find yourself being tempted by fear, which has kind of been happening lately, because I've been having just a weird experience here, where it's just like everywhere I go, doors are shutting and everywhere I go, it's like I'm so in the, real late hours of the morning or something, when it's dark and you're out in the woods and there's no one around, and you wake up and you don't feel that great because you drink whiskey all day and everything, and fear comes in, and it just offers you a whole series of fucking whacked out, crazy, terrible scenarios. And before you do anything, if you ever find yourself in that spot, which when I was younger, in my younger years, I literally walked through life in that state of mind for all the time, 24/7, and it's terrible to. I mean, I feel for anybody who's living through that, like having anxiety is one thing, that's not fun and all this, but deep fear, like your life is a non-stop panic attack, like a non-stop, basically living experience of hell. It's awful because that's really, really hard place to work yourself out of when it just seems to be the case, because all your mind gives you is just one scenario after the other of why it's true to stay in that feeling state. And then you go out and you can't really create anything good with your life, because you're creating from a really dark place, you know, and it's usually you just make a bunch of messes everywhere you go. It's not as bad as it seems, but you're really not producing much, and then you freak out halfway through and run away. But something I've been examining for a lot of years, and I've got to the point now where it's become obvious how important it is, no matter who you are and what you deal with, like what state of mind you exist in, and where you how you feel every day. And because those are the smiles that you're able to give people, and that's the joy that you're able to give people. And if you don't have any of that, you don't have much to give anybody anything. I mean, if you're motivated, if you do got a lot of fear, because the positive end of it is you can cause it to, it can become an engine of some sort. Mike Tyson talks about this a lot, and this talk that I listened to him recently, he was talking about this, and how his whole early career was built on fear. And he said he hates to even look back on it, you know, because it's so. People ask him about boxing, and he's like, I really just don't even want to talk about it, because they were literally the darkest days of his life. And it was like, to everyone else, they're like, wow, you were so successful, but he just lived in constant fear. And to me, the reason I haven't taken a lot of the paths that most people have taken is because I think they're motivated by fear, and they use fear to drive them to success. But then what I could see from a young age was that success isn't worth it if you don't feel good. If you use fear as your motivator to get through life, as that end, you can do that, because I've done it. I mean, I've done it to fucking run from the cops and escape, and done it to run from city to city and fucking become a good thief, and become a good guitar player, become a good upholsterer. I kind of accomplished all that out of fear, you know, in my younger years. But I'm getting older, and now I'm like, none of that. I'm glad it's all there now, because I've got this, you know, like the skill set that can get me through pretty much anything that I can imagine. I'm sure I'll find out different, but it's more. I would rather enjoy my life than be driven by an engine like that. So I don't approach life that way anymore. And it's like when things get like this, and this is a really, really fucking powerful thing you can do if you ever have this happen, to prove something to yourself. It's like when pressure really, really comes in, and it's nailing you to do something now, sit down and fucking do nothing. Don't do a goddamn thing. And don't say a goddamn thing. Anybody asks you anything, don't say nothing, don't do nothing. Just sit down and do nothing. And don't do anything until your heart gets clear on it. And then when your heart's clear and all the dust is settled, you let all that pressure basically destroy itself, because it will. It's just wanting you to respond to it. It's kind of like a bully, a series of bullies in the playground, just waiting for you to respond. And when you just sit down and just kind of be quiet, all those bullies just seem to fucking blow themselves all to hell. And then you can kind of stop and go like, oh, okay, now maybe we can make like sound decision. Because here's the thing, it's like, if you let the bullies drag you into fights, the rest of your whole fucking life will be that way. Because the next time it happens, you let the bully drag you into another fight. Even if you win, it wasn't worth it. So don't even fucking fight it. It's like, even if you win against a motherfucker, it wasn't worth it. Like, take Eminem's career, you know, he's got a whole magnificent career, and I love the dude to death. But it's like, to this day, he's still fucking at war, and it's like, I sometimes question, like, he's undoubtedly the greatest rapper, you know, of all time. Well, you know, arguably, but he's on up there. And so it's like, he built all that skill, I would say, on anger and fear, and negative emotion. You know, he kind of, but he was raised in that, so it was already there, and he just figured, well, I'll take what I got and use it. And that was wise at the time. But I'm wondering, like, how's he feel now that he has it all, and he still has got this, and maybe he's just not there, but he's got this tool set that it seems to no longer be functional. It's like, it was the one thing that kid that he just completely destroyed, said, it's like, why you got all this money, you're still angry. And it's sort of like, it's something to think about, because, like, why should you need anger and hate and fear and all this fucking low-end bullshit to drive you into accomplishing something? Because at the end of that story, you got to look back and go, was it even worth it? Like, to have to go through all of that, you know, intensity and fucking fire and brimstone and all this shit. And then, I mean, how could you be proud of, when you're motivated by that, you destroy a hell of a lot of people along your path. And I've noticed that for me, when I get in that mode, it's a temptation now that lasts for a short time, because I quickly snap out of it, and I'm like, well, this is not what I want. I didn't come here to be a bully, you know, because it makes you a bully, like you are a killer, you know. And you're effective. I mean, you can some days, when I get like that, it's like the last thing you ever want to do, whoever you are, is get in my way, because it's just like, just a snap of a fucking finger, I can 2 words, I can make you feel like a fucking mouse, you know. And then it's like, I have to go to sleep at the end of that day and look back and go, like, well, wait a minute, I mean, that day was pretty successful, but I think I left about like 15 bodies in my wake, you know, like 27 broken spirits along, and is that the goal that I'm shooting for? You know, no. Like, that's weak, in my opinion. That I can do better than that. So there's just some things to think about, because I consider those temptations. There comes times in your life that you're tempted to become a monster, and just a less than human individual right there. It's just true. You're tempted to become less than ethical, less than fair to other people, and so that's just not what I'm wanting at all. And I've done a lot of work to drop a lot of bad habits, and these are and all this stuff is they're bad enough, but they're kind of like, most of the trouble I suffered with those are usually withdrawals are one thing, but most of, I say 70% of all the, about 75%. Maybe a little more, maybe heading towards 80% of the trouble that I've experienced throughout my life with drugs and alcohol are judgments from outside people. Like, me in my heart, I'd never had too much of an issue with it, other than alcohol has serious withdrawals, so I'd have to give it about 20% because it has a very serious withdrawal factor to it, and it has gotten me close to death a lot, so I'd say that. But pretty much everything else has come from like this, people that think like the other night, it depends on what kind of town you're in, really. Believe it or not, shit, there it goes. Depending on what kind of town you're in, shit. I was gonna smoke a cigarette for y'all. I got another lighter in here. Depending on what kind of town you're in, there's a got fucking winds blowing. Oh, fuck it. Depending on what kind of town you're in, there's like places in this country where you can sit out in public and drink and no one really cares. And then there's places like where I'm at now where it's like very strictly prohibited, you know. And it's like because this is just a different kind of it is Florida, but it's just a different kind of a place. Like there, it's like almost, you want to call it like small town Florida or something like that, in a way. But either way, they they'll try to give you hell and arrest you and trespass you and all this kind of stuff. And I like to go sit out and drink and hang out with people. It's something I've loved ever since I was friggin' discovered it. It's way fun, because I love being in atmospheres where everybody's having a good time. You know, I don't have to really say a whole lot. I just get to like hang out and watch people having fun and shit. And I guess some people think that's dangerous, and I don't know. Maybe they're right. I've just yet to see any kind of. I've yet to see any kind of really terrible things come out of people having a good time. I've seen terrible things out of people drinking alone in the woods or in a group in the woods, and you know, I haven't seen it. So, and I've been all over the place. And you see these videos online with like these guys being assholes and knocking people out and shit like that. I've seen so very little of that it's just doesn't happen that often, you know. So anyways, I gotta go, but y'all have a good day, and thanks for listening to my shit. See ya.